Did you know that approximately 73% of women who cheat end up unknowingly giving away their own secrets? In today's video, we'll discuss 5 phrases often uttered unconsciously by unfaithful women and how they can change the way you view your relationship. If you're a man in a relationship, this information might help you recognize the signs of infidelity before it's too late. But before we begin, if you find this kind of content helpful, be sure to subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video, and leave a comment saying, "I noticed," so I know you're really following the important signs we'll be discussing. The first thing you need to understand is this: infidelity doesn't just appear out of thin air. Behind the behavior is a complex psychological process, and language is often a window into a person's subconscious. When a woman is unfaithful, her mind typically lives between 2 different worlds: the official world she lives with her partner, and the secret world she's building with someone else. This duality creates what psychologists call cognitive overload, and it's precisely this mental pressure that often leads to unconsciously uttering statements that reveal infidelity. Have you ever felt your partner start saying things that feel strange or out of character? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear next might surprise you. The first phrase that often comes out is, "You don't know me like you used to," or "I feel like you don't understand me anymore." These words are hurtful because deep down, what they're really saying is that there's someone else they think understands them better than you do. When a woman says something like this, she's subconsciously comparing her current relationship to another relationship she finds more intense or engaging. From a psychological perspective, the mechanism is quite clear. She's trying to mentally justify her behavior. Because she feels you no longer understand her, it becomes easier in her mind to accept the presence of someone who she believes is capable of providing that understanding. This is a subtle way of shifting responsibility onto you, and what makes these words so cruel is that they ultimately lead you to question your own abilities, even though you may not be the real source of the problem. But wait, because the second phrase is even more obvious, and you may have heard it before without realizing it. The second phrase is, "I need space," or "I need time to myself." When an unfaithful woman says something like this, she often doesn't mean she needs distance from the relationship as a whole. What she actually needs is distance from you specifically, so she can spend time with someone else. At first glance, this phrase may sound like a need for independence, but in many cases, it can be a way to create the freedom necessary to keep the secret relationship going. Pay attention to this important detail. If she's asking for space but still remains active on social media, hangs out with her friends frequently, and has a normal social life as usual, then it may not be a need for space in general. It could be that she simply needs distance from you. Someone who truly needs space usually uses this time to reflect, rediscover themselves, or focus on personal growth. Conversely, a woman who is involved with someone else often remains active and social as usual, just without involving her partner. Look for other patterns as well. It's not uncommon for a request for space to come right after a moment of emotional closeness or genuine intimacy with you. This is because such moments can trigger feelings of guilt, making them feel the need. The third phrase often used by unfaithful women is, "It's nothing personal," or "It has nothing to do with you." This phrase usually occurs when you notice a change in her behavior and try to talk about it. She then responds by downplaying your concerns and saying that the issue has nothing to do with you. But the truth is that in a relationship, almost everything is personal. When she says it has nothing to do with you, she's often trying to protect information related to her secret relationship. She's building an emotional wall to keep you from digging deeper. In a subtle way, she's actually sending the message, "Don't ask any further." And here's the part that many men often don't realize. This phrase usually occurs when she's experiencing emotional changes due to another relationship. She might become colder, more distant, or less affectionate than before. When you start to question these changes, she'll need an explanation that doesn't reveal the real cause. From a psychological perspective, this is quite interesting. She may truly believe that by saying "it's nothing personal," she's protecting you from pain. What she's actually doing is blocking your opportunity to understand what's going on. Now let's discuss the fourth phrase, which is particularly dangerous because it often sounds so reasonable. It's the phrase, "I'm going through a hard time," or "I'm just thinking about things too much." This phrase is almost a perfect disguise. When a woman says it, your instinct to protect and understand her usually kicks in. As a result, you refrain from asking questions that might make her uncomfortable because you don't want to add to the burden she's feeling. But herein lies the problem. A woman who is truly going through a difficult time will generally seek support from her partner. In contrast, an unfaithful woman often uses this excuse to explain why she's become more emotionally or physically distant. The difference lies in how she handles the situation. Does she reach out to you for support? Does she give you the opportunity to help her? Or does she use the situation as an excuse to become more unavailable, less present, and less connected to you? Also, pay attention if the difficult time he claims to be experiencing coincides with a schedule change, a new routine, or activities he didn't have before. In such circumstances, it's likely not solely about work or family. He may be making room for someone else in his life. Both emotional and physical affairs take time and energy, and that energy has to come from somewhere. In many cases, it's from his primary relationship. That's why he needs a plausible excuse to explain the change, and "I'm going through a rough patch" is a very effective excuse. But the fifth phrase is the most revealing, and when you hear it, the situation may have progressed much further than you thought. The fifth and final phrase is, "We're just friends," or "she's just a friend." This phrase usually comes up when you start noticing someone new in his life, someone whose name is being mentioned more often, or someone he seems to be spending a lot of time with. When you ask about it, he immediately replies, "We're just friends." There's a problem here. When someone feels the need to assert that the relationship is just a friendship even before any accusations are made, it often indicates that the possibility of a relationship already occupies a special place in their mind. This is a form of defensive denial. Think of it this way. If the person is truly just a friend, there's usually no pressing need to provide excessive clarification. They'll talk about the person as they would any other friend. But when there's emotional attraction, or the relationship begins to cross the line, from a psychological perspective, this is very interesting. She's not just trying to reassure you, she's also trying to reassure herself. By continually claiming they're just friends, she's setting a boundary that may already be emotionally breached or about to be breached. Also pay attention to how she talks about the person. Does she frequently recount small details from their conversations? Does she share funny stories or special moments they've shared? Does her face light up when she mentions the person? All of these can be indicators that the relationship might be more than just a friendship. And here's the most important detail. Notice whether she's willing to meet you or include you in activities she's also attending. A woman who's in a truly healthy friendship usually doesn't mind you getting to know the person. However, women who are developing a deeper relationship often try to keep the two worlds separate entirely. Now, it's important to understand one thing. None of these sentences automatically proves an affair. Context is everything. A sentence on its own can be completely harmless. However, when some of these signs start to appear repeatedly and are accompanied by noticeable changes in behavior, it's time to take them more seriously. What should you do if you recognize these signs? First, don't panic and don't immediately make accusations. Instead, observe the pattern. Notice when these statements occur and under what circumstances they are uttered. Second, improve the quality of communication in your relationship. Many seemingly serious issues can actually be resolved through honest and in-depth conversations about each other's emotional needs. Third, focus on your own self-development. Not out of guilt, but because personal growth is always beneficial, no matter what's going on in your relationship. And finally, trust your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, there's probably a reason why. Don't ignore warning signs just because you want to believe everything is fine. Remember that knowledge is power. Once you understand these signs, you have the opportunity to take action before it's too late. Whether it's to improve your relationship or to protect yourself from much greater emotional pain in the future. If this video helped you better understand relationship dynamics, please share it with someone who might also benefit from this information. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more content about relationship psychology. And before I end this video, I want to remind you that there are 2 other videos that you might find very interesting and that perfectly complement what we've just discussed today. These videos will appear as recommendations at the end of this video, so make sure you don't miss them.